Yeah. Thank you so much for inviting me to the platform. So basically, I'll start by the introduction of myself. Then I'll go to the next discussion, how to become a programmer.
Okay.
And I also go to the next one, basic programming practices. Then from there, we'll shift on the actual major programming languages and actually look into which frameworks, which architectures you can learn. Because we can talk about Java, we can talk about C#, but sometimes you never know where to start.
That's
So
right.
we also have a discussion on that as well, on all different languages, on where to start and how to become a programmer. Okay,
Right.
so on introduction, basically, my name is Mufaro, as I said. So I'm not a person who come from a programming background. Like there was a mentor who mentored me to be a programmer. So I actually come from the village where when the school I was learning, there was only 2 computers where we have to share the computers to access the lab and all that. But I managed to be able to have some better knowledge in computers, but it was not programming when I was still at high school. Then I actually decided like, no, let me pursue in this career of computers, but I was not sure what should I do. Should I do networking? Should I do programming? Should I do what? Because there's a lot of things in IT.
That's right.
Then I did a degree in information systems. It was not that easy because coming from a background which is not much exposed, actually other people will be actually far much ahead. So you have to push to actually keep up with the pace. So I have to go sometimes to the library and write the code, then go and test the code in the labs because I didn't have a laptop. So it was not that easy. It was very difficult. And I will tell you, my first laptop, I bought it when I got a teaching job for 3 months. Then I bought my first laptop. So after I bought my first laptop, at least I could practice on my own and do my own stuff. Then from there, let me just quick and forward, like my first project I started work on and how I was passionate in software development. So my first project which I worked on was when I was on student attachment. As a student, I was given a task to capture assets in a database. Then I was like, that's a lot of work. I can't capture assets in an Excel database. Let me just develop an asset management system. Actually, that will help to capture that information and give a summary of all the assets and all that. So that was my first project, which I did. I did it using VB 6.0. It was out back then. And actually, the nice part, they are still even using it now in the profits. So that one will go also to the other discussion, like how to start being a developer, how to start a software project. You must be very simple and straightforward. So I see most of the people when they're developing, they want to complicate things. But if you want to start, just start with the simplest approach and make it work. Then after that, you can develop from there. So I've managed to have that confidence and mind of just let me just develop this, it's gonna work. But I'll be surprised, like, oh, people are still using it. So that was my first project. Then after I finished university, I got a job as a data capture clerk, but actually I was waiting for my results. When I was capturing students' payments and all that, I managed to say, no, this is boring. Let me develop a system. So that was my my second system. It was a school fees payment system. So that school fees payment system, I actually managed to turn it into business now. After I see, oh, this is working, let me start selling it. Then I start marketing and selling it. I got 3 schools. I start selling it. Then after that, I quitted that job of being a data capture clerk. My results were out. Then I opened an office in town.
Wow.
After I opened an office in town, then I started to market in schools. That was my first, actually. My first job was self-employment, actually, when I finished university. So I started to market my school fees payment system, and people started to, by that time, yes, schools didn't have confidence in guys just coming from nowhere and all that.
That's right.
But I managed to market and install that system in 6 schools, and actually, like now, they are still using it. and it has never gave any problem, those systems. It's running on a local host network, and they are actually using it. It was just developed from a student mind, not something complicated, but they're still using it. So I encourage, when you have any idea or something, don't try to complicate it. Just implement it, and you may never know, the people might actually grab that idea.
That's right.
So from there, let me just fast forward now to my professional employment. Then I moved. That time I was back in Zimbabwe. Then I moved to South Africa.
Okay.
Then that's when I said, no, let me try to have the industry experience, because I was having the student experience. But at the same time, with the student experience, I was actually selling my products, and they were actually being used. And I said, no, let me just go get an industry experience and see how it goes. Then I went to South Africa. I actually started on a startup called Kusasa. So my suggestion for all new developers or anyone want to venture into programming, please just start with a startup. If you go to a big company, you won't learn everything. You can go to a very big company, but you will never learn as you think. But if you go to a startup, you even know everything, from creating the databases, from managing all the APIs being used, from the backend side, from the front end side, and everything. So that has been my journey, and I've realized that from a startup you learn everything, and you have got direct, actually direct contact and direct conversation with your manager or whoever who is on top of you. So that is the thing. So if you're a new developer, yes, you may have some peer pressure, like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna go to a startup or whatever, but we're talking about learning how to program. We're not talking about how to get a job. No, we're not talking about how to settle a job with high income. We're talking about how to learn. You see. So those kind of things, they actually groom you to be a very good developer. You face many challenges on a startup. So I went to that startup and started learning everything. And after that, from that startup, I moved to then from Vodacom. It was a big company, as I said. You specialize on aspects, like you don't just do everything. Sometimes you don't even know. So it was so much structured like that. So you learn a lot, but on a small, on a limited aspect. If you're on the database, you definitely learn much. If you're on the backend, you definitely learn much, but you won't be able to learn everything. So that's the disadvantages of big companies. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just gonna keep it simple.
Yes.
Okay. So from Vodacom, then I met this other guy. He was supposed to join called Rapson. He's a friend of mine. So we said, okay, let's form a company which gonna do the payment system. So this guy had already a connection with the mining company. So that is the other thing also which works actually if you want to have your own startup business. Connections are very important. You can have the best product, but if you don't have connections and proper marketing, sometimes you're not gonna excel as you were supposed to. So this guy said, okay, I've got this company. It has got 3,000 employees. It's a mining company, and let's develop an HR system, payroll system, and mine management system for them. So I bought that idea, and we agreed, like, okay, we formed this company and the shares and all that. So I left Vodacom, actually going back again to being self-employed. So my journey was just like this. So I developed that application. I finished that application in 6 months. I think I took 6 months. Then I finished that application. Then we enrolled all the employees and everything. So that was our source of income, because that company was paying monthly, and we were now financial independent. It was our product called PayGrid. I think I was discussed about with you that that application. Yeah. So it went for a year or 2 years. Yes, year to 2 years, working properly, everything, and I was an entrepreneur. Then we were starting also marketing to other companies and all that. But that was our major company. So after that, the company closed. That was Yeah, so it was like there were much investigations on the company owners, maybe about not properly having proper papers for their mining or something, because it was a mine.
That's right.
So the whole company closed, and that is where we're actually based. That is where our source of income was and everything. The company was doing for us everything. It was renting offices, everything, and we're just making sure the system is running and that they're paying monthly payment. So that was another challenge. Then I like, no, okay, it's fine. I'm gonna go back again to to employment for now. Now I'm gonna go back to employment for now. But yeah, then I said, okay, it's fine. Let's see. Let's try to push marketing at the same time. For me to survive, let me just also focus on finding employment. Obviously, it was quick. I got the employment for Unitrans, company called Unitrans, for the logistics company. So after that, it was fine. I worked for 2 years, 3 years at that company, and then I also learned a lot of other integrations. We're integrating with Sage. We're also doing some tracking of trucks and all that. So it was a nice experience.
Right.
So after that, then I quitted that. Now I'm now an independent consultant and also a contractor and yeah, and a freelance as well. So that's my journey up to now. Yeah. So actually, the most worst thing which recruiters do is they always look at what you know. Like, okay, you may need a different developer for different actions, but they always look like what you know. But they don't know that programming is like driving a car. If I drive a Polo, it doesn't mean if I drive a Ferrari, I'm gonna have a problem. Yes, I'll just have some glitches first time, but after that, I'll be able to drive. You understand? So me, I believe that as long as you're a programmer, it's not gonna be difficult for you to shift in any architecture or in any language. You are a C# developer, can shift to Java, you can shift to PHP, you can shift, because those things are the same. It's more like also frameworks. They are the same. But people or recruiters, they complicate things. Okay, you don't know this framework, it's fine, you are not the right candidate. No, I know the other framework. I cannot know all the frameworks. There are a lot of frameworks, like even on one language like Java, there are a lot. There's Spring, there's a lot of frameworks you can use, In PHP, there's Laravel, there's Spinoff, and there's a lot of other frameworks you can use. So me, I just expect like 2 weeks, a programmer must be able to actually grasp the concept. If you are a good programmer, I don't expect that you're gonna take 2 months, 3 months trying to learn the other new framework or a new technology or something. Yeah, APIs. You know what? APIs, I think, are the most easiest things nowadays. You know why? Let me tell you. You know why? Because back then in the days, you have to write everything. Like you have to write everything, the routing. You have to write the authentications, everything. A lot of stuff you have to write from scratch. But now frameworks. Like if you go to Java, there is a Spring framework, there's Play, there's a Spark framework. If you go to PHP, there's Laravel, there's Slim, there's Code Igniter, C# as well. We have .NET Core 6.0. We've got other like Nancy FX and other framework. It makes it easier for you to actually create your own APIs easily. So now you no longer need to learn the language deeply. You now need to learn the framework. Okay. So I think for a non-developer, you can say, okay, I want to design my own APIs. Okay, which framework, which language should I use? Maybe say, okay, I'm gonna use Python. Okay, you can use Flask. Flask is very easy. I don't know, it's very easy and lightweight. You can use also Django. It's more big. It actually has more bigger structure. Okay. But to create a simple API is actually easy for a non-developer to start. That's what I can say. But I'm just saying it depends on which platform you are. But you have to choose the language: C#, PHP, Java, Python. But creating APIs. Then after that, you find the framework to use. You learn the framework. Because these days it's about learning the framework. Now it's past that stage of like, yes, you learn the language, you learn the basics, you do the for loops and all that. But by the end of the day, you need to know the frameworks you're gonna use. There are no companies which are just writing raw code. They are using frameworks.
Right.
Most companies. Yeah.
Right.
Yes. I'm Mufaro. Yes, I'm very
Hi,
interested in your journey. It's a wonderful journey. But I think I've picked something, and I have a question. You said you were there doing programming for Vodacom, and then you left, and then you went for entrepreneurship. You know, if I was to get a job at Vodacom, that's the mindset that most of us have. You know, leaving that job, bruh. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying. I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, right now, if I'm going to get into programming, obviously, I want to work at Facebook, I want to work at M10, I want to work at Vodacom. But then here you are, you got the job there, and then you leave that job. It's very difficult to be an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur myself. So my question that I have is, oh, what are you saying? Are you saying that we should learn the programming to look for jobs, or rather we should learn them targeting more of like the entrepreneurial space? Because everyone's idea is when they're at school studying this, they want a better job, they want to go to Vodacom. But there you are leaving Vodacom. So it's confusing now to some of us. Like me, I want to get to Vodacom, but this guy is leaving Vodacom. What's happening there?
Yeah, I understand your question. So basically, when we're talking about like the normal thing, obviously we go to school so that we're gonna get a job and get a living. That one we can't deny that. And actually at school we are studying most of the time and we are not learning. So that's the difference. So when I say you are studying, when you are studying, you are doing things to pass. You are doing things to have that certificate. You are using your money. You have paid. So that thing actually, it makes people not learn. Actually, when they are at universities, they will just like, how does the exam look like, and also something like that. And they cram the exam, then they write the code. Okay, that one is another approach. But on this one, let's say you pass, you cram everything. Yes, you can get a job. That is another approach. But by the end of the day, you have not learned anything. You understand? You have a certificate, you have a degree, you have got the job, but you have not learned anything. But now we're talking about how can I become a programmer? Like confidently say I'm a programmer. And after you have become a programmer, that's when you're gonna have now choices, whether I'm gonna continue working or I'm gonna have my own startup. So that is the thing. So most of the people, they stuck in employment because they cannot start things on their own. That is the other thing. They have learned, they've actually studied, but they have not learned. They've studied, they can actually put some input. They can, yes, be able to quick to grasp it, or that they can, but they cannot innovate. They cannot implement. That's the thing. So that's when you can be stuck to a company and say, okay, I'm working for a big company. I can be stuck to this company, and I can work it for that company forever. But now, let's say you use the second approach of you studied, after you studied, you got a degree. Now you want to learn. Let me have this knowledge now. After you have that knowledge, still you have that option which that person has who came from university wanting to go to employment straight. But the difference between you and that person is that you now have the knowledge and understanding, and you have learned actually the principles and everything. That guy has got a certificate, so you'll be stuck in employment. So my conclusion is like, it's up to you whether you want to continue as an employee or you want to do your own things. But that thing is limited whether you have knowledge or not. So if you don't have knowledge, then it means you can start to employment. But if you have knowledge, you can now create your own stuff. So there's no right answer which I can say, go to this way, go to employment, go to school and go to employment. It's up to you with the information, with the knowledge which you have. So this guy approached me and said, let's develop an application. I've got a mining company, it is 3,000 employees. So it means if I didn't have knowledge, I was gonna say, no, let me continue my work at Vodacom. Yeah. That thing is, but because I have two things, I have got a degree, I've got a degree, a certificate, which I studied, and I've also learned how to do and implement things. So I have two options now. So I can leave the job and say, okay, guy, let's do the side hustle and see how it goes. So it differs on the stages which you are. actually, by end of the day, that's why people, even big business people, or even other people like who started small, like maybe example Microsoft or Facebook or something like that. There was an option to continue studying, but with the knowledge that guy has, he said, no, with my knowledge which I have, let me go to option B. But he also had an option to continue studying. So there's no principle like, no, you need to study, have a degree first, or you need to do this. In terms of acquiring knowledge, there's no other principle. And let me tell you one thing. I've learned that most people, but I know most people disagree with me on this one. Yeah. Most people disagree with me on this one. So there are people who finish university. After I finish university, other they continue doing masters and whatever. They continue, they continue studying and studying and studying. So I think once you continue studying and studying, yes, you can acquire a job, yes, maybe as a professor or something like that. But you will find out that you have studied with many certifications, you have many masters, whatever, but you still don't know the simple things in IT by the end of the day. But that guy who just finished university and went to boot camp or YouTube and started actually learning principles, learning everything, can be even much better than you. So I've realized that that works. If you want to create a profile for yourself, that I've got 10 degrees. But if you want to learn, just go on what you want to learn and study it, learn it, and go straight to the point. Because that process of going to certifications or whatever, it's another way of learning. But other people, they abuse it, like they no longer have the information. They're just like, I finished this certification, I finished another one, I'm going to another one, I'm going to another one. But you say, guy, can you really do practical things? No, yes, continuously doing that. So it's another way for getting employment.
Hi, Mufaro.
Hi, how are you, Tenacious?
I'm good. Yeah. On the first note, I agree with you, man. Knowledge works. Like everyone who has worked with the engineering team knows that. I'm with you there. Not a lot of people will disagree with you. Even my CTO once told this guy that I can give you this certificate. He was looking for a splicing job or something. And he said, I can give you the certificate. I want someone who can splice, not to tell me that, hey, I did 4 and that's what. So
yeah, that's true.
Yeah, so a lot of people agree with you, and he mentioned a lot about me when he was talking to that guy, that no, it's not all about what you studied, right? Yeah, I support you there. But I have a technical question for you, man. I need real mentorship. I want to hear your view on how you think about this. Networking, I'm new to networks, right? Networking is really changing in a rapid way. Now we are configuring our routers and switches with what do you call it? with programming scripts, putting variables, if statements, so a router can react in a certain way, which means definitely we have to understand coding. Today we were struggling with a router which was rebooting because it had low voltage. We didn't know why. You had to put a script there. It sends an email once it receives it reacts in a certain way. After with a certain script, if this happens, please send an email saying this and stuff, like logs and stuff. So, which means we have to understand a bit of code, but definitely we are not good at it.
Yes, that's true.
Then APIs are coming into place in our space, which is really stressful. So I wanted to ask you, you were saying you don't need to know a lot of code for you to know APIs, right?
Yes.
I was thinking, as for me, I don't want to code the APIs. I want to play with them, because now with chatbots and systems integrations, because I'm seeing where it's going now, there will be a time where most of the first line activities will be done by automation and AI. So
Yeah, we're
definitely
getting
for
there.
network engineer, you should understand that an API will send a certain information to a certain system so it can respond to a client, maybe checking the connection status of a client and stuff. So do you feel like people who play with APIs should know code?
Me, honestly, I don't think they should know code because APIs come with documentation. Now we've got Swagger. You know, that thing is very easy. I don't know, like, you don't need to code. Let's say you want to play with APIs. Then APIs, it can be a get, it can be a post, but they come with a documentation like Swagger, like, okay, you put these parameters, get, maybe you put the user ID or the username to get the user's information, or you put the reference number to get maybe the order status. Those things, they don't need programming, because software testers, they use API every time. They test APIs every time. We develop APIs and they test. So using them, actually, that one 100%, it doesn't even need, it needs zero programming experience, because APIs come with documentation. So it just tells you, if you want to get a list of users in the database, send this parameter, you're gonna get the list of users. Then it's gonna come as a JSON response. So you don't zero programming. Then in terms of developing APIs, you need a bit of, you just need to be a bit intelligent, but not too much programming knowledge, because you're gonna have your database, then you just have your code, which you write, like, okay, like, as I said, there are frameworks. So now frameworks, they come with, there's ORM, object relational mapping, where you can just map your code to the database. You don't need to hard write the code to get or fetch results. You just write one line of code. Maybe you can say your database is users.fetch. Then you can get your users. So you don't need to be a hardcore programmer to write APIs. So it depends on the frameworks which you are using. So as I'm going back to your question, yes, in terms of playing with APIs, I can suggest you also playing with Swagger. Swagger is very good. Then you can also research on open APIs, which you can just play with on the internet. They can just come with like a test, like, okay, this is the data. If you put this, your response is going to be like that. Then you can just learn how to get responses from APIs. Yeah, something like that. But definitely, you don't need hardcore programming language to develop APIs. Then, in terms of using them, you don't need programming language at all. You don't need knowledge at all.
Yeah, it was helpful. What about integration? Let's say, have you ever worked with guys who integrate systems like integration? Let's say people are coding there and you integrate a certain system with the network and with other stuff like chatbots. Do you need to code?
Yes, so on integration, so currently I'm working on an integration platform with a bank. So it depends on what you want to integrate, but on from my experience, wherever you integrate an external resource, if you are doing the best practices, you must have a channel manager in your code. You must not integrate directly. So in that channel manager, that's when you're gonna integrate. Then you have another interface calling your own channel manager. So it's like a middleware in between when you are developing integrations. So let's say you are integrating to Sage. Don't integrate direct to Sage. Call your own APIs. Then from your APIs, then on that backend, then call Sage. Because once Sage changes anything, then it means you have also to change a lot of things on your side, on your interface. So the best practices is to have a channel manager, a middleware, which you put on your integrations. Then you can integrate to Sage, you can integrate to a bank, you can integrate to whatever. You can just change. It's like switching off the plug and putting another thing. So on integrations, as you said, I've worked on integrations, I'm working on integrations. You must just have a channel manager which integrates your UX or whatever, your interface with the channel manager. Then the channel manager integrates with any other external resources. let's say you were sending SMSs using Zoom SMS, you want to use Twilio. You can just plug and change. But if you have done the integrations through your own UX or your interfaces, then you have to change a lot of things. So that's how integrations must work. Then let me go to the topic of whether you need to code to integrate. So it depends on what you are integrating. So there are also other integrations which doesn't need you to write a code, which need configurations. I think most of the guys of networks knows that. Like you just need to set up configurations, you set up your data source or whatever, then you integrate, then your data will work and you fetch your information. So it depends on what you are integrating. So sometimes you don't need to code. But if you are developing an integration, probably maybe to a bank or integration to a payment system, I recommend you use a channel manager for that, so that when they say they have changed the payment system, you don't need to rewrite your code. You just plug and put on another one and just change a few things.
I'm going to take 2 more questions. Mufaro, just too much. I think we can have the I'm going to ask 2 more questions. I've got a question from Velapi and another one from Kapadzwa. So what is going to happen? What I'll do, Mufaro, I'll ask these 2 to ask their questions, and then you answer them at once, and then we can end this session. Velapi, and then we can head to Kapadzwa.
Okay, thank you, sir. How is it, Mufaro?
Yeah,
so
good, Andy.
Sure, man. I come from a background of QA engineering. Yeah, I'm also working with banks. So we had the situations sometime where we had our APIs being accessed by some external guys. So, and we ended up having all the data that was exposed. And they had access to our APIs and so forth. And then, they had to ask for a bound and all those kind of things. So, and then we ended up having to create some key vaults where you put our keys and all those things. So I'm not sure, because they were running in the CI/CD pipeline. How do you think is the best way for us to have our APIs being secured so that they are not accessible by external people?
All right, good one. Okay, yeah. So basically, there are a lot of things which you need to do for securing APIs from the code perspective and actually to the infrastructure perspective. So in terms of the coding size, actually make sure that you use authentication. Maybe you can use Auth 2.0, or maybe you can use some JSON web tokens, JWT. Also, make sure that you always use HTTPS in all your requests.
Right.
Then the other things, make use of roles and permissions. Those roles, obviously, there are other people who can access also external, but there are other people who access as well internal. So you must solve all those things. External, make sure that you put your web tokens, your Auth 2.0 is fine, your HTTPS. Then let's say maybe it's your Velapi. You have access, but you want to access another API which you don't have access, because there are also other people who want to play around. So you use roles. So now we'll be knowing that your role will access this and these APIs. Then you have the permissions for that role. So you're not going to be able to access other APIs which you are not supposed to access. And there is also use of intrusion detection systems. I think John knows much about that in the networking side.
Great stuff, Great stuff.
Yeah, because people need to access your network sometimes. So you use intrusion detection systems, and then they can alarm you that, okay, there's an anomaly which is happening there.
Okay. Hi, John. I'm Faro. How are you? For me, this has been a revelation for the experience of what you've gone through from where you started to where you are now. And I think I'm also kind of, in a way, going through the same process that you went through, but not in the business, business aspects of what you have achieved so far. So I do have a question, because I'm also, I'm a self-taught developer. I also did information systems as a degree, but then now like what you said, we were just learning to get the degree. So now I'm trying to be a software developer, and I've been learning myself, doing freelancing projects and stuff like that. So I just wanted to ask, like, what are the complementary skills do I need to have for me to be a good programmer? And my background as well, I've also done support, and I've also done quality assurance testing. So all those aspects are also kind of adding to my skills as a software developer. So I don't know, maybe if there is something else that I also need to look at for me to be a good
Okay.
and productive programmer.
Yeah. My first question is like, which space do you want? Programming is many spaces, like the web applications. Then we've got the mobile application. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, at the moment, I am doing web.
Okay, all right.
Web.
So basically, what I can actually suggest to you, you must learn one language and focus on that and master that language. As I said previously, some people, when they want to learn programming, they touch all over. You touch this, you want to learn that, you touch. By end of the day, you have learned nothing, because you just learn the shell of that, you learn the shell of that, you learn the shell of that, and learn the shell of that. So basically, if you want to focus on web, you can maybe focus on ASP.NET. That one is really good paying, and actually is in demand. There is ASP.NET Core 6 recently, and 7 as well. So you can learn on the website, but focus on one language. You don't go to PHP, then you go to Java, then you go to everywhere. No, focus on one. And the other thing is, like, when you are studying, focus on one tutorial or one, maybe it's a lecture or something, and finish that. Don't just go around and, okay, I think this one is better because it's saying this or something like that. Because there are a lot of things in the internet. I don't know how to lie. And each and every tutorial will tell you this is not the best way, there's another best way. This is not the best way, there's another best way. So you find sometimes in a circle, like, what should I learn? Just learn whatever you can learn, whether it's the best way or it's not the best way. But learn, if you want to learn how to do a to-do apps or connecting to a database and create your APIs using C#, ASP.NET Core, just learn. Don't worry about other tutorials. They say this is not secure, you must do this way. After you learn that, then you grow from there. It's like programs, like you build a foundation, then you grow from there. So most people, they don't focus on one thing. They say, I need to learn this, then next time you want to learn that and all that. So what I just recommend you, if you are on the web architecture, learn C#. You can also learn PHP. It's very easy to learn, but the job demands are less and also less paying if you're considering for a job. But PHP also comes with good frameworks like Laravel, like CodeIgniter and all that. As I said, most of the languages, they focus on frameworks. So just find a framework which you want to learn, either one. Maybe you want to learn on ASP.NET Core. You focus on that one and do an application. Maybe it's an application to add users, delete users, or something like that. After I finish that, you can grow from there. So those are the skills. And you also need to be the other thing on that language. Let's say you focus on C#. Also know some front-end aspects, just in case, so that you're not gonna be that dumb, like you don't know maybe the front end or the back end or something like that, how they connect. So I recommend you just do a full stack, maybe a front end from start to finish, and a backend and a database, just like that, adding users or deleting users. You design the UX and all that. After that, I'm telling you, you're gonna be able to actually have confidence whenever you go to a job interview or wherever you are, because you have learned that and mastered it. So if you learn a lot of things, now you have not mastered anything, it means that you will not be perfect. So you can't be having confidence. That's the thing.